Hello everyone and welcome back to APM Help Academy. In today's video we are going to go over all things reporting. In order to find the reporting tab, you'll simply from your dashboard scroll down to the section that says reporting and then select reports. You can also, if you'd like, type in the search bar reports and then go to the page itself. When you come to the reports page, you'll be first introduced to the main section, the accounting reports. Here is where you'll be able to track all financial data for either property specific or owner specific. The first reports on the accounting reports deal with more your GL account balances. So your account totals, you'll be able to select this, run for a specific GL account. In this case, we'll run it for the 1150 operating cash. Then hit update, and then you will be able to see each property's net balance for the reserves and their ending balances. This is useful if you wanted just to see a snapshot of individual properties for the specific bank accounts to track their balances. The next reports will consist of the balance sheet. This will group your assets, your liabilities, and your cash all together in one single spot. This report is typically useful for CPAs or accountant professionals when they're doing your end-of-year tax filings. You can select again, like all reports, whether or not you want to run it for your hidden properties, your active properties, or all properties, or you can specify a specific owner. This then will run the report for all their properties, and then you can hit update. The next balance sheet, you can compare your totals from year over year. Again, you can run it for the specific owner, select all properties, and then update, to which it will then show you your net operating cash, your liabilities, and capital from one year to the next, the increase in the dollar value, and then the variance year over year. The next balance sheet report, you can compare the actual properties against each other by selecting it. Same process. You can run it for your specific owner, portfolio, or property group. You can select whether it's all active properties or all properties. And you can select a date. Level of detail, by default, it will select the detail view, but you can select to do the summary view as well, and that will show you what both look like. So we hit update. And as we can see, Rivendell Apartments made $10,850, whereas the Shire Outlook had no operating cash. And then when we select Summary View, this is how it will look. The next report on accounting reports is the bank account activity. This report will be useful when tracking Department of Real Estate requests or third-party audits, just to check what transactions have cleared within that given time period. When selecting it, you'll want to update your report and run it for your respective bank in question for your time frame. You can run it for the bank's beginning balance, which in most cases will be the more accurate report to go with. This will just show all transactions in and out for the bank and will match up more with your statement. Or you can select to go based off the general ledger's beginning balance, which will include all transactions that have been posted and may have or have not cleared. So in most cases, you will want to run with the bank beginning balance. When you hit update, the report will then show you every single transaction, cash in and cash out, that has ever been recorded and whether or not it has cleared your reconciliation process. The next report also includes banks. It's the Bank Account Association. This report is very useful when troubleshooting on your bank reconciliation reports why, say, a rental trust account is tied to a 1160 account. With the Bank Account Association, you'll be able to click on it, search by the bank you desire, and then hit update. What this report then will show you is if it is associated to a property, what GL account or cash account it's tied to, and whether or not it's activated for online payables. The next reporting section on our accounting reports is the cash flow. The cash flow is important when wanting to gauge how much money in and out has happened within a given time period. This is one of the reports that most owners will ask for as a part of their owner statements and owner packets. The cash flow again will show the net income or net cash after all income and expenses have been accounted for. By default, again, it will include the detail view. This is the best one to go with. I would also recommend when running your cash flows for your properties that you check off this box, exclude suppressed fees, as this will make sure that on our cash flow, the owners will not be able to see the cash in for the suppressed fees that you, the management company, collect, whether that be application fees, late fees, or any other types of fees that are 100% suppressed. You hit update, the report will read like this. You'll see all the income or the cash in, the expenses, the cash out, and then at the very end, you'll see the net cash flow. This is a good report to measure profitability and overall health of the property. There's other variants of the cash flow to which you can run a longer period of time. You do a cash flow 12 month. This will be more used during 1099 season, as you will be able to compare your prepaid rents at end of year versus the income, and then that's how the 1099 will pull. Again, with this cash flow, I would also recommend excluding suppressed fees. And then on the cash flow 12 month, it will show you a month over month report for the cash flow. This is a good report to share with your owners to show the overall operations on a month by month cadence in the given year. The next report is the cash flow property comparison. This allows you for your owner's portfolio to compare multiple properties at one time. Again, like all others, what I would recommend is excluding the suppressed fees. You can update. And then just like our original cash flow, it shows the net income versus the expenses and compares it one to another. Last but certainly not least is the cash flow detail. This just breaks it into a more itemized report of showing all activity for the property. So again, you can run it for your specific property owner, property group, or one singular property. And then you select your date range. And then hit update. It then will show you what actually entails your rent income. It shows you the individual payments and what actually makes up your expenses, and shows the, again, individual payments of each. This one's useful if you have an owner that wants to see the actual overall ins and outs for all transactions. Like all other cash flows, I highly recommend excluding suppressed fees. That way you don't have to have a conversation with your owner about the additional fees. The next report on our accounting reports is the chart of accounts. This one is useful when wanting to just see a snapshot of all GL accounts for all time that you have ever created. Again, this report will pull based off of, if you go to accounting, GL accounts, and this is what the report pulls. So it's just an easier method of having every single GL account in one viewable spot to see what offset account they have and what type of sub account they are. It's also a good report if you want to filter to see whether or not GL account is subject to management fees, late fees, or any other type of additional fee. The next report on our accounting reports is the expense distribution. This report is useful when determining what expense accounts are used the most during a certain period. This is useful to keep track of whether or not you guys are spending more on the budget where you're not needed, or just to keep track of how much you spent for that given month on a specific expense account. This would be useful if you want to find in a quick snapshot how much management fees were collected in the given month. You just simply customize this report. Select your payee as the management company, and then hit update. This then would break down every single bill that was paid to the management company during the time period you have selected. The next report on our accounting reports section is the general ledger report. This report can be accessed a number of ways. One, from the reporting section here. Another way is by typing in the search bar general ledger and then selecting that. And then the third and last way is from the property page on the right hand side under tasks. It can be found like this. General ledger. The general ledger is useful for seeing the property balances in real time for all transactions that have both cleared on the reconciliation and that have not yet to clear. The general ledger is also highly used during troubleshooting balances on GL accounts, as well as when compiling triple-way rec forms for third-party auditors or even Department of Real Estate auditors for trust compliance. In the event that you're compiling a report for said triple-way rec form, you would simply select the cash account that your operating account is. In this case, we will find our 1150. You will say show all properties. You will select the portfolio you're wanting to run it for, and then you will select your time frame. For this general ledger report, when wanting to get a true balance to match up to what the bank shows, I would advise clicking the option Showed Reverse Transactions. As with your bank reconciliation reports, the total balance on the GL account will also include the reverse transactions. By default, the general ledger does not, so make sure when you're compiling your reports, you're making sure to check this off. You then can hit update, and it will show you all transactions and general ledger balance as of the date you ran it for. Like all other reports, we can select whether we want to see active or hidden properties. You can select specific GL accounts, and we can select the date range to be either current month, all time, last quarter, last year, this year, and many, many more. The next report on our accounting reports is the income statement. The income statement will be frequently requested by the CPAs or anyone that does your taxes professionally. The income statement is pretty similar to the cash flow report, but it differs in the fact that it just shows the true GL balances, not necessarily cash. So again, by default, you'll select your date. It'll typically then be default view. And then you can also opt to include zero balance GL accounts. In most cases, this will be unchecked, but in the event that you need to have the GLs, even if they are zero on the report, you can select to have them on. You can then hit update, and then the income statement will show as follows. You'll have all your revenue accounts and income accounts. You'll have miscellaneous incomes, all your other revenues versus your expenses down here. This is useful for the tax professionals when breaking down what type of expenses and incomes you are receiving and collecting for these owners. Like the cash flow, the income statement has a few other variants. You can also do an income statement for 12 month like we saw with the cash flow. Update, and then it'll give you, just like we saw on the last report, but a 12-month look. And also at the end of every month gives a net income. The next report on our income statement section is the income statement comparative. This report, you'll be able to run it as of the current fiscal year. and then compare the change in your incomes and expenses and your net income from year to date. So this one we will do Smiling Yen, all update, and then it shows you your prior year period incomes and expenses, the percentage of variance, the year-to-date totals, year-to-date priors, and then the year-to-date variance. The next income statement report is the income statement property comparison. Just like our cash flow comparison, we'll be able to compare two properties or however many properties in real time against one another for our selected period. Here we see the comparison again, our incomes versus our expenses and the total. The last report, which is super helpful when wanting to run a longer time period, is the income statement date range. This one you'll be able to run for however long you please. And then it gives a consolidated view of all transactions from your date range through current, and shows you the net income from your selected date range. The next report on our accounting reports is loans. Here is where you'll be able to easily track if a property has several loans, all the loans on the property. It will show the interest paid, the balance on the loan, the principal still remaining, and when the last payment had occurred. For example, we won't have one readily to show you, but we'll hit update so you can see what the columns look like. This again is useful to track all your loans in one snapshot report and to share with any parties that would be interested in the payment process or status of their loans on the property. The next report on our accounting reports is the trial balance. This, like our cash flow, balance sheet, and income statement, has a few variants, but the trial balance in and of itself is showing a year-to-date change in your GL accounts, both cash, income, expense, capital, assets, basically every single GL account that retains a balance. The trial balance is also something that a CPA will request when it's tax season if you guys are a owner-operator type. The trial balance can be selected, and then it will show again all cash accounts, all income accounts, all expense accounts that have been used year to date. You can also customize this report to show a specific time period. Again, all properties and update, and it will show you more. You can also, just like our cash flow and income statement, do a trial balance by property. You can select our property group, owner, and then it will show us a breakdown, if applicable, what properties have used what. The last but not least report is the trust account balance. This is the last report when dealing with the AAA rec form for most states that you will need to run with your bank reconciliations and general ledger report. The trust account balance is very, very important because it shows you all properties from beginning of time through current that have ever been associated to a trust account in your AppFolio. When running the trust account balance, it's important to run it for all properties, not just active. You can select your bank account, and you can select up to 7 additional cash accounts to include on the report. Another useful trick with this is if you want to group by specific property owner to make sure they have funds to contribute if there's a negative property balance, you can do so. You can also, if you want to see the health of a specific trust account, if you have multiple trust accounts, run it by each specific bank. In this case, we'll run it by owner, hit update, then filter. On this report, it's absolutely vital to make sure that all properties are either at 0, positive because they're holding prepayments or a reserve, and they are not holding any negative balances. there is any negative balance associated to your trust account, it either needs to be reimbursed by the owner or trued up from another property's cash within that owner's portfolio. So in this example here, this owner would owe the rental trust $50 back to make this whole, as they do not have another property within their group to true it up. The last report on this accounting reports is the trust account detail. You can click on it, and like our other trial balances and all other reports, we can select to run it for a specific cash account. You can then again select whether you not want to run it for all properties, and you can select it for a specific time period. And this is how it will pull. It's very similar to the bank account activity, but it provides just a simpler view where it only looks at one specific cash account. This has been reporting in AppFolio, and specifically this section, accounting reports. If you liked what you saw, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any more questions, you can reach us at info@apmhelp.com.